So welcome, everyone. If you're here in the call or if you're watching the recording, why don't we just receive 3 breaths together? Everyone, inhale. Open your mouth and let it go. Ah. One last time. Ah. Isn't it fantastic just to, reconnect of the magic of just being alive, just feeling the breath moving and just expanding in our chest, just the magic of just free conscious breath beyond everything else. That's what it comes down to. So, my friends, my intention is to offer a space to breathe, to quote one of the participants in this group, and have a moment where we can connect, maybe share your experience with the course, ask questions, and just have a simple moment of connection. And I'm grateful, Greg, you have some questions, so it will be also the opportunity to answer the question that been asked and anything else that's there. So just so you know, Greg, you're very lucky because you also have Mr. Ben, who is sharing the same hairstyle as you and me, Greg, and as he's actually leading one of the main breathing school in the world. And so you're getting two absolute passionate men about the breath there. So why don't we have a little check-in so I know a bit what's going on. First name, how you feeling? And yeah, maybe if you have an intention for today or something that's going on that you'd like to bring, or that we can start flowing from that. So why don't we start with you, Greg, if you can unmute yourself. And just so you know, this is recorded, but I'm just recording myself, so you won't be seen because I'll put it in the group. So first name, how you feeling, and anything you wish to bring today. Greg, you're muted.
That's better. Yeah, my name's Greg, or Gregor, if it's more formal. I'm based in Scotland and really feeling lucky today to have both of you with me. I feel really privileged. I've seen some of Ben's videos online through your YouTube channel, Alex, and yeah, so I feel really privileged to be doing some breath work and being able to ask you guys some questions. It's a real honor.
Oh, yes, yes. And so you had two questions that you put in the group. Is there anything else that's going on that you wish to address?
No, I mean, for me, I would have loved to have come back out to Bali to do the 3 week facilitator course, but with childcare and some other commitments at the moment, it's going to be difficult for the next year at least. So I thought the online can keep me developing my practice, keep me building my knowledge. But no, the questions I asked primarily on shooting up through my nose, because I've kind of been struggling with that, if I'm honest. And I can remember doing it in Bali with you, and it worked really well, and I totally felt high on my own supply. But maybe it's colder in Scotland, but I can't seem to replicate it, and it's I'm just going with that. But it's something I thought when I get the opportunity to ask you, I should do that. But the other one was just on fasting. It's something I've looked at in the past and dabbled with, but again, want to learn a little more on how I can incorporate that with my lifestyle and my breath work.
Yeah, I can say a few words. I'm not an expert on fasting. I'm much more an expert on feasting, but I'll try to say a few words on fasting as well, and some recipes for feasting as well. And I'll speak to that. But I think uh, what matters to me, just on that, what comes to me is the idea of going to the extreme of our physiology. That's where from com to breathing more to breathing less, from eating more and enjoying to the fullest to fasting. Yeah, I love that how we can really expand ourselves through going to the extremes of what the body can do. But yeah, thank you. Happy to have you here, Gregor, and we'll come back to your questions. But first, Mr. Ben, welcome. Little check-in.
Thank you, Alex. And I really appreciate you, having this invitation. What am I feeling right now? Feeling calm and relaxed. I've already done quite a lot of work this morning. I've got a lot more to do, but I thought I don't really want to work. You know what? I would just like to connect and take some breaths with someone who I love and respect very much, and that's what brought me here and
Amazing,
how I'm feeling.
amazing, amazing. Really, I feel excited, happy, and honored. My name is Alex. I feel also incredible. I feel absolutely incredible. I just had an incredible week with my partner. I feel I'm living a dream. We went to Lombok and had a wonderful holiday. And I live a dream because she's a breathwork facilitator and we are building something together. And the idea of co-creating and co-facilitating and Ben, I was always admiring you and your partner working together. And I love couples being able to work together and share. And I'm experiencing that right now, which is a wonderful feeling of not being alone on this journey and having someone to celebrate everything that is happening, which is absolutely wonderful. So I'm experiencing that. And also preparing the 3 weeks training. I just had a call with all the participants. We are sold out, and we have 20 people coming and going to experience becoming facilitators in 3 weeks. So I'm very excited for that. And finally, I just got off the phone with my mentor, a man I really recommend everyone should look him up. And I'll happily send you some content about him. His name is Dr. Mark Cohen, and he is, for me, probably the most knowledgeable person I know on all those topics of extreme wellness. He toured with Wim Hof for 5 years before Wim Hof was famous, explaining the science behind the Wim Hof method, preparing him for Kilimanjaro. He's at the board of the Hot Spring World Organization, and he's helping sauna and ice bath businesses. And he's a medical doctor. He's a naturopath, based in Australia. And we are planning 2 retreats together, which I'm extremely excited about because I just love this man and I have so much respect for him. And what I love about him, because he's really knowledgeable and he wrote books that are like that, but when he expresses himself, he does it in with poetry. And that's quite exceptional to have not only the ability to have the knowledge but deliver it in a concise, poetic way. That's something. And he writes books for children. And so, yeah, very excited to be on that journey and connect with him. So that's me at home. So let's start with Gregor, your questions, and then we'll flow from there. So I will ask you, for the sake of the recording, to ask again your question regarding to the
My
breath.
first question was on the shooting up of through the nasal passages part of breathwork. I'm struggling to get sort of consistent, what I would say is positive results, although it's still a good experience, but I'm struggling to replicate what I did on the 2 day core workshop with you in Bali, when I really felt I'd moved up that fluid through my body and into it was an amazing, exhilarating experience, and I'm struggling to recreate that.
Mm. And I'll be curious also, of course, Ben, you're welcome to come in with your take on it. But I feel that when it comes to breath work, it's important to work on functional breathing. And that's not something that is often expressed enough. But the idea of creating space in the chest cavity, of getting, this ability of taking really long inhale, very long exhale. And so I would say starting with the fundamentals of how can I create space within my body? And that starts with that. So that's the first one. Do you do and I recommend things like taking full inhales and then stretching with the lungs full. So now all of a sudden you imagine you have a balloon that is pushing inside the chest. And if I do any kind of stretches with the lungs full are going to really create a lot of space within my body. So that I would say as a first tip in breathing, before talking about the emotional aspects and the release aspect of the breath, just really working on that functional. Number one. Number two, improving nasal breathing. So for that, the more you use it, the less you're likely to lose it. And a lot of people, when they mention they struggle with nose breathing, is often because they don't use it enough. So I really recommend to consciously breathe through the nose so that you don't have vasoconstriction and you're really open your nose. So it's through mouth taping at night. So you have like consistent 7, 8 hours of nose breathing. You can have those machines that can, stretch your nose, or little straps that you could put on your nose. Even doing some exercises and with gloves, go into your nose and create some space in the nasal cavity. There are some Indian practices where you put some salty water in one nostril and it goes through the whole nostril. So really clearing the nose, which is really, really healthy, really, because remember, if you've done the course, one of the primary role of nasal breathing is to trap viruses, bacteria, dust, pollen. And it's very important to breathe in and out through the nose so you clear it. But having a practice of, now the name is missing me, neti, using a neti pot. And that's what they use in India, a neti pot. And then you having this water without doing anything, you just put it in one nostril. You can look up neti pot and have it go through all your sinuses and come out on the other side. And do that maybe once a week to just have clearing. It really helps with the health because you're really clearing. And at the same time, you're going to improve your respiratory functions. So I would say, like, those are the fundamentals. Before we talk about what we do with the breath, is do I really improve my functional breathing? Do I really stretch the space? And then how's my nasal breathing? And do I have vasoconstriction that is not allowing me to a really full expansion of the breathing? So that would be the fundamentals. Now, my understanding is that when we are doing the shoot, it goes like that. And the idea is that you've been holding your breath. And for everyone watching who has no idea what we're talking about, it's the sequence part of the breathing called method. After doing cyclical breathing, we do a breath hold after relax exhale. And then the end of the breath hold on the relax exhale, we empty our lungs and then we do a shoot. So it looks like that. And then after a minute and a half, and as we are inhaling fully from the bottom of our lungs to the top of our lungs, we are moving the energy up and visualizing the spinal fluid moving up. And how we do that by really moving that liquid up. And there's a lot of visualization that is part of it. Yeah. And we do that through contracting our butts, our perineal, that muscles between the genital and the anus. You can even press it. And then contract the abs, contract the lower back, contract the fist. And then if you are familiar with yoga, you can add your different bandhas, your different locks, and locking your lower part of the body, then locking your diaphragm. And then you can even lock the throat, and then roll the tongue at the roof of the mouth, press the roof of the mouth, eyes up, and and then you press it. And you keep that pressure for about 10 seconds. And then very important, you don't release the air. You just hold the breath, but now you relax the muscles. And you experience about 30 seconds of just blissful breath hold, full lungs, without any contraction in the body. And allegedly, that's where you are shaking the pineal gland and releasing DMT. That's why it's called DMT breath, DMT shoot, and releasing the DMT crystals. And it's the shaking of the DMT crystals that creates that beautiful vision of purple colors and all the activation basically of the third eye. And after that you can do a nice release. Now, for me, my experience with the breath, and I'm curious after that to hear from Ben, is that there is a lot of placebo effect when it comes to the breath. So if something doesn't work for you, to do something else and to really acknowledge how does that make me feel, and then do your own version of it, of your own thing. And if it works and it brings you something great, regardless of what, what is said in the yogic book or what I say or what Joe Dispenza is saying or wherever you've read it. So if the nose doesn't work and you want to do the shoot through the mouth, and this gets you really high, then enjoy that. Because my experience is, if I tell you something and you take me as an authority and you do it and it works, you say, oh, but it has to do partly because you believe me. And if you believe me, you take it on, then it works. But that's the beauty of the placebo effect, that there is the thing that have been studied, and then there is things that we just experience, and then we just, because we believe it, it just works. And we have tons of stories around the placebo effect and how it's affecting people. But in essence, regardless of all these weird, complicated specifics of the breath, for me, it comes down to creating space, as Ben beautifully has the name of his business, creating space with the breath. Regardless whether it's an inhale and an exhale, whether it's the nose or it's the mouth, and regardless of the technique, if you're already taking 15 minutes with your breath every day, you're ahead of the game. You're ahead of everybody, because you're really developing this idea of, oh my God, I'm actually breathing consciously. And that's enough, So don't put pressure on what is the specifics of it, but make sure you make space to integrate how you feel. You really want to create new neural pathways after. And that, I would say, is the most important in all, is after you've done your breathing, whatever the breathing is, whether it's a relaxed breathing, an active breathing, to have space after to just actually integrate as, this is how I actually feel. Because now your brain is integrating it and will register that it feels good. And the next time you're thinking of doing breath work, your body is going to say, yeah, let's do it. So it's going to become easier and easier. It will not require for you to make an effort, says, oh, it will just be something that you will crave, that you will want to do, and it will become automatic. It will become a habit. And that's really where you want to go. You want to go where, you cannot go through the day without your 15 minutes or your 1 hour of meditation or of breathing, because it's just part of your hygiene, the same way you brush your teeth. Or some people will go to the gym and have, if I don't go to the gym, if I don't have my yoga, half an hour yoga, whatever it is, but it becomes just part of your routine. And I think that's the most important after all. It's the idea of bringing this space, this presence with myself, which I love about the breath, because it's just that. It's just a presence with what's alive in me. And it's a moment where I can actually feel my emotions, feel what's happening in me. And maybe, I can really feel, what, I'm tired. And I'm tired and I just need to have some time. But very often we operate from our unconscious mind, which doesn't give us the space to relax, because you have to perform. You're conditioned to be to do well, because your parents had told you have to work hard. Okay, so you keep working hard, but you don't really work hard because you want to work hard. You work hard because your parents from 50 years ago told you have to work hard. For me, it really comes down to creating a moment where actually I can be the boss, where I can be in charge, where I can make decisions, not from the place of the conditioning and unconscious, but actually doing, what serves me right now is not to go to that party, is not to go to that meeting, but just have a moment where I'm going to be in nature. I'm going to play with the dogs. This is, if I'm really honest, this is really what I want to do right now. And it's really hard for us to do that, because we're conditioned to either please others or achieve or do. And we don't always feel it's okay to just be. And that's, for me, is the essence of what breathwork is, regardless of the technique, which I think really comes second. And I think very often there are many discussions, oh, this technique is better than this technique. Wim Hof is great. No, Wim Hof is crap. You need to do Buteyko. Oh, oxygen advantage. And there is a lot of that in the field of breath work, or holotropic versus rebirthing, and Soma versus Wim Hof. And for me, it's all the same. You go to the same destination, which is just creating space. And if yeah, Ben, I'm curious to hear what's your take on all that.
We just have a breath before we do anything else. That was a download, Alex, and I just want to feel all of that land in me. Thank you. I think in that answer, in that sort of 5, 10 minutes that you spoke, you gave enough nuggets of wisdom, I think, to fill probably about 2 or 3 hours of seminars as well. There was so much in there. I also know how you feel, Greg. Coming and breathing with Alex in Bali, in his beautiful home, in a magical place in the world. There's nothing like it. Bali is where I discovered breath work, over 10 years ago, and it changed my life irrevocably. It's not the same coming back to the UK and breathing in this cold and wet, damp climate. It isn't like that. We're all men of a certain age here. I'm mostly ashamed of my bald head, so I wear a hat all the time. But I'm sure all of us remember those heady, hedonistic days of youth. Well, at least for me, when I was a real thrill seeker, when I go out chasing all sorts of highs. There is a tendency in breathwork for people to do the same. It's different at our stage in life, but there is, when we first experience a breath, when we first meet it, it is an overwhelming experience. It is like nothing else that I've ever experienced. It beat all the drugs and all the drink and all the chasing the girls and all the highs, and that it was because it was a sustainable, it was a healthy kind of nourishing, not going to wake up in the morning with a terrible hangover kind of feeling. But that idea of chasing something, chasing the high, chasing the same experience doesn't always serve us, doesn't always work because it's not really replicable. The experiences that we have in Bali in the middle of the rice fields in this holy magical island are never going to be replicated. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't practice. We don't practice breath work to get those highs, to have that moment of transcendence. That the way that you experience that, by the way, Alex, of the muscle process that we use, the shoot, is very powerful. The breath work is more than that. It's more than we know. It's more than we can know, and it doesn't mean that we shouldn't practice it for that. My experience is, first of all, when we first encounter breath work, we run towards those kind of peak experiences. That's what hooks us, attracts us in. But after a while, those experiences fade away. It's actually a really good sign. That's a very powerful moment that you aren't just walking to the breath, you're walking with the breath. And my experience is the more that we breathe, every type of breath work, as Alex mentioned, from functional breathing to Wim Hof to Soma breath work to rebirthing or just being aware of our breath, we enter into such a deeper relationship with our breath. We don't need those highs anymore. They're with us all the time. They're accessible all the time in a gentle, subtle way. So what is my answer to this question? No, sorry, get used to it. You're not going to have the same experience of shooting up your breath in Scotland as you did with Alex in Bali. It's not going to happen. But that doesn't mean that breathing regularly every day with better awareness, with better intention, with better connection, it's something that you should abandon. No, you could do it even more because of that. The experiences that you get will be different. The transformations will be different. They may be subtle, but they will still be powerful. So I think maybe just a reframing and all of the physical benefits that Alex mentioned, all the emotional and spiritual benefits, they will come, but a slight reframing of the question to change expectations, I think, is what I would say around this. Our breath can be our best friend and our wisest counsel, but it's not always going to deliver the same message to us. Each time there is something different.
Amen.
Does that feel all right?
Yeah. Alex, could I just reflect on what you two guys have said over the last few minutes? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that's been a really worthwhile and sobering reflection for me, to two people I really respect, and particularly in breathwork. And I think perhaps I was taken aback in Bali just by the experience and the actual the shooting up was always an added bonus. I was actually surprised at how I felt. I was like, how on earth did I get my body to do that? But as Ben said so eloquently, yeah, I think an adjustment of expectation. If it ever happens again, it'd be a bonus, but it's certainly not why I do breath work. And for me, the big gain has been a physical one as well as my well-being. I've absolutely reduced my use of asthma medication in the last year that I've really been into doing my breath work daily. And that is something that it intrigues me as much as it fascinates me. And it's something that I'm a real advocate of. And I've got a couple of friends who are respiratory doctors, and I've had long discussions with them. And I can't say what modern medicine and the use of formal medications, but I'm a real advocate for myself and how I've really reduced my use of medication by 90%. And I put that down to breath work and healthy living and my cold water, which is something we do have an abundance of in Scotland. Even in summer, I don't need any ice. I can just jump in my barrel. But yeah, so thank you again for your reflections and your input there. That was really worthwhile, and I'm so glad I got this opportunity this morning.
You're very welcome, and I love listening to Ben. So it's always a joy. One thing that came to me, something that I tell everyone when I have them for a few weeks as a guideline, and they ask me, okay, so how should I breathe? And my answer is differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we are animals of habits, and when we start doing things in a certain way, well, then we always get the same outcome. And when it comes to breath work, what is fantastic is stepping into the unknown and accessing realm that we didn't even know were there. And I love entering the breath without expectation, but without like a child curious is, oh, what am I going to discover? And for that, the only thing that I invite people to control is the way they breathe and the way they move, and to keep the focus on the way they move and the way they breathe. And I help and I facilitate with different types of touch, with different types of rhythm in music. But if you can incorporate that in your breathing routine, says, okay, what does breathing differently looks like for me today? And maybe you tend to push yourself. And is that the way you also behave in everyday life? And maybe you're going to be actually, this week, I'm going to be extremely soft in my breath. And maybe I'm just going to breathe through the nose for 1 week and see what happens. And maybe I'm going to be moving the whole time and allowing the whole body to move if I'm always stiff and I don't feel comfortable moving. Maybe I'm going to make sounds and I will allow sounds to come and maybe welcoming there. But if you enter with the intention of breathing differently, you are giving space for something different, to a different outcome. And the body will be very happy, because then you will explore all aspects of your personality, all aspects of your physiology, and that's amazing. So you can reflect on, oh, I'm the kind of person who's quite hard on myself. Okay, so what being soft on myself looks like, and what if I give myself permission to do and breathe differently? I found that usually this is where magic really happens. When I love that expression from another breath master, it's called is the idea of getting out of your own way. What does getting out of your own way looks like today? And it's a wonderful habit that you can, of course, incorporate in every other aspect of your life. Whenever you feel that, okay, I'm being triggered, this is how I would usually react, then you have the ability in that moment to come up with a different scenario. And I think that's the other thing when it comes to breath work is how can I incorporate the lessons that I experience in the breath into my everyday life? You know, I had lunch today with my partner, and someone came to our table, and he started to share his knowledge, and he's teaching yoga for 30 years, and his knowledge was incredible, but he had no ability to listen. He had no ability to ask questions. He has no idea what we're doing. But he needed to be heard, he needed to be seen, he needed to be validated. So he kept talking. And I'm often amazed by those teachers that are forgetting that the most important is to be a student, not a teacher. And if you are always coming to your breath with this attitude of, oh, I'm just going to be curious. I'm just going to be a child that is going to be playful, says, oh, what's there today? And with that attitude, you will learn something new every day, which is way more interesting than teaching something to someone every day. You know, so it makes life a bit more surprising, and how amazing it is to be surprised, and happily surprised, and discovering ourselves a bit more every day. And I think the breath is such an incredible tool to get us to know ourselves better. So yeah, that's what came up. All right, friends, is there anything else that is there? I don't know, Ben, is there anything in your field right now that you want to share or ask or flow? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question. When I saw the invitation to join this meeting to ask me anything, I felt that I did want to come and ask you something. What is the greatest gift that your breath has given you? And what do you believe is the greatest gift that breath can give anyone?
I wish you had asked that a bit in advance so I could have a bit of space. That's a big one. You know, and I think I take that from you. So I'm going to quote you. It's the most, it's probably if maybe the only way to change an adult. I think that's from you, isn't it? But it's, you know, I was extremely conditioned. I was running the program for the first 40 years of my life. I was just running a program. And I was stuck into that program. And I was exhausted with every aspect of my life. And I had no clue how to get out. I was miserable, but stuck. And I think for me, the breath is, for me, the most incredible way to get unstuck and to appreciate that there is an alternative to the program that has been running for the first part of your life. I can share a bit more. My father was come from one of the richest families in Serbia, Hungary, when it was the empire, and they lost everything during the war. So the goal of my dad was for me to be really someone and to reclaim our place in the world. So the most important thing for my dad is to work hard. So I never felt good enough. I never felt that I'm okay. I always had to do more, which is a gift, which I appreciate today because I'm always improving. I'm always revisiting. I'm always doubting myself. And in a way, it helps me really grow very fast. But at the same time, it's a curse because I struggle to really just accept myself and be happy with myself, which means I couldn't be happy. I didn't believe I was worthy of a relationship, that I couldn't imagine someone wanting to be with me. So I couldn't have a relationship. That's something like that. I couldn't receive compliments from my students. And I was really obsessed with someone not giving me good compliments. So I could appreciate now retrospectively how every single aspect of my life was just the product of my conditioning. Everything I was doing, every food-related disorder, every pattern was just a response to my environment and the way I was brought up. The breath gives me the choice. The breath gives me the space between a trigger that I still feel. I'm still programmed. I'm still feeling very much not worthy, very much not needy, very much wanting validation from my partner and from my students. But now I can feel it and I get to respond differently. And that's a game changer. It's a game changer. And I get to appreciate the gift in disguise every time I'm triggered. I feel, oh my God, how amazing it is that I get to touch a wound. I get to touch something very profound. And it always comes in ways that I don't expect. But now, when it comes, I can be amazed, I can be curious, I can be compassionate for myself, I can be kind with myself for feeling what I'm feeling. And I get to create space so that I can respond finally. And I get to respond in life and not react anymore. And that brings me freedom. That brings me the choice to actually be empowered, be sovereign with my choices. I do the things because I want to do them, not because I have to do them, to be a good guy, to be appreciated, to be validated, to be celebrated, all these things. I get to do things differently. And what's amazing is that as soon as I do that, and all of a sudden, it creates connection in my life. People feel safer with me. They trust me. They feel, oh my God, finally someone who's speaking his truth. I can probably do the same. And that's really the message here. Is like, as soon as you are going to be you, you're going to give permission to the people around you to be themselves as well. And that's the best thing you can give to a partner. That's the best thing you can give to your child. That's the best gift you can give to a client. This image of, I am myself, therefore I give you permission to be yourself. You can meet a stranger who is being in the role, playing their mask, keeping the mask on. And as soon as you are expressing what is for you and sharing your own experience, it creates instant connection of complete radical honesty. And coming from a place of unconditional love, it creates a space for transformation. It can be with a stranger in a restaurant that comes to you to share his knowledge. And that's my ability to just be sharing my truth in the moment. And that's enough for the person to drop into the narrative, drop into the need to be validated and say, oh my God, thank you so much for that moment. And that's an incredible gift. And if people could receive that gift, then they got everything right. And I think we share that in both our schools, Ben, where we are really encouraging people to just be themselves, and that also sets us apart from other trainings and other modalities where people are told, this is how you do it. Be like me, just do what I say and repeat it and it works. But that's now not how you're going to be a happy facilitator. You can be a good facilitator, but I'm training happy facilitators, and that's the goal. The goal is not for me to deal with trauma, to resolve addiction. No, the goal is to feel love, is to feel joy, is to feel ease in the body and to experience life. I'm not having just a spiritual experience. I have a body. I want to experience life in this body. So it's not all about being enlightened. No, I want to enjoy the food that I eat. And and if I drink alcohol, I want to enjoy that alcohol without judging myself for drinking. If I smoke a cigarette, which I don't, I would recommend enjoy the cigarette. If you smoke with joy and celebrate the joy and the pleasure of smoking. So it's not so much about doing things better, but doing them from a place of ownership. It says, oh, I live my life. I'm going to be rich. I want a Ferrari. Amazing. There is nothing that needs to, but if you do it because you want to be validated by your parents who passed away 30 years ago, then we have a problem, If you're getting your partner because she's smoking hot, because all of a sudden you feel worthy, then you will not be happy. And there is not an amount of Ferraris and hot girls that will make you worthy, because all you want is validation from your already dead father. And so for me, yeah, long answer to a beautiful question. I'll return it to you, but maybe you want to respond.
I think I just want to take a breath with that, Alex.
Hmm.
That was a beautiful answer. Really thorough and personal as well, and just giving us a glimpse into some of your own story as well. And you're right, it's really connecting when we do that, when we hear that, when you let the mask and the armor slip down. So thank you.
Hmm. How about you?
The greatest gift that my breath has given me. So an awareness and an understanding and appreciation of the love that and the light that is in me and everyone. It has been given me a path forward to feel that fully in myself, and because I can feel that in myself, I feel it with others. And that, I think, is what it is. It hasn't replaced anything that I've learned elsewhere. It hasn't changed me, but it's integrated. It's integrated all the different aspects of me, and it's elevated them all as well. And that, I feel, is the gift. It hasn't really allowed me to, it hasn't done anything apart from allow me to be me, but a brighter, more loving, kinder version of me.
I think you said it in very briefly, but what you said is the most important. I think that's it. You touched it really beautifully. The breath, for me, gets me out of my little theater, and it gets me truly in connection. And so many people go through life wanting connection, but not being able to have even the slight space to feel that connection. We want to feel love, we want friends, we want that, but we cannot connect. We cannot connect. We want to connect, but we don't know how to connect. We're acting out of fear. We're acting out of lack, and this idea of being able to share a breath. Whatever I inhale, you exhale, and we're sharing the same air. It's just there. There is something completely magical of sharing the breath. We witness people breathing together and what it does. And it's something, you know, I'm sure it's the same for you, Ben. When you're in a space, I can have, and I've seen it with you, and I have photos, and I showed you those photos. When you have two people that are really connected, like you and your partner, and they are breathing, they have an eye mask on, and then all of a sudden, after 10, 15 minutes, they are moving exactly in the same way. I have photos of Ben. They both have, him and his wife, the mark of the yoga mat that they were laying on, marked on their faces. Like something as quirky as that. So this idea of we are one, and it's a concept that we hear in all the in a very marketed way. But this idea of we are one, we are love, we are unconditional love. We get to experience it, we get to feel it, and this idea of living life from a space of open heart. All of a sudden, you live a life worth living, and that's it. You're gonna die. What's the big deal about becoming someone, having a legacy and making money and having all this stuff? So what? You're gonna die. Nothing. So enjoy now. Enjoy living. And for me, it comes down to that, this connection to the breath. It's the magical tool that gets me to really enjoy the here and now moment and feel it and enjoy it. And that's absolutely priceless. And that's people leave our trainings, and I would say pretty much every breathing training. It doesn't have to be every breathing training, with this idea of, oh my God, this life is worth living. And that's pretty big. It's pretty big. And we live in an era which is pretty dark if you follow the news and if you're out there. So having a tools to actually say, oh, why, let's, what is this nonsense? This nonsense of this world that we live in, is this greed and manipulation and fear and technology and more, and how? What the hell? It's like it's a cliche, but we're more and more human doings and less human beings. And if we can reconnect to that aspect of us, then all of a sudden it's a win. It's a win. And you can feel the anger, like my partner was going through something because she's got a friend who was having a hard time, and she started crying. And I just I just celebrated her for really feeling that. And I told her, we're gonna be driving on the scooter. Hug me like you would hug your partner and let yourself go. And for 45 minutes, she was just crying, 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 crying. And she just had the space to do that. It's not how we are being raised, We we apologize when we cry. We just feel embarrassed. We just feel, I don't want to feel sad. I want to be happy. I don't want to be angry. I want to be happy. But if you don't feel sadness, if you don't feel anger, you're not going to feel happiness. You're not going to feel joy. So it's not so much about choosing how to feel and wanting, and so much biohacking is around breath work as well. It says, oh, you're going to live longer, you're going to you're going to be happy, breathe, and then you're going to be happy. No, breathe, and you're going to feel what you want to feel. And you're going to have the space. And if it's sadness, and feel the sadness. You don't need to feel happy. You don't need to feel anything. Just feel and welcome everything without trying to change it. And you can start becoming an observer of your life. And when you start becoming the observer and you take the role of the observer, it's cool. It's really cool. And you become a subject of interest. It's, oh, interesting. I'm doing this. Oh, here we go. God, this is still there. Oh, yeah. Oh, how fun is that? That I still have that going. And just creating that space so you can be the observer, of course, naturally you impact it, and whatever that is, it's already gone and you can change it. Just by being the observer. My partner, she wants to live at least 4 or 5 months per year in Mexico. And that sucks. I want my partner to be with me. I want my mommy, I want my caretaker to be next to me. I don't want someone who's far away. But that's just so I can have a tantrum that says, oh, this is not how you want. If you want to be with me, you stay with me. This is where we live. We do it together. And then what? She can live a life of frustration and resentment if she accepts, or we can separate. That's me being 5-year-old and wanting it my way. But I have the ability to feel that lack in me and appreciate that has nothing to do with my relationship. It has to do with me not being met in my needs when I was a child. And that's coming up. And then all of a sudden I feel, oh my God, it has nothing to do with my partner living away. And my rational mind says, of course I don't want to be away from my partner, but that's only part of the story. Another part of the story is I have abundant wounds that are being triggered. And then I can all of a sudden choose to be with it and feel it and see what's really there underneath it. And here is the secret. Voice it, express it. I tell her what I'm going through, but I don't tell her from a place of being needy. And I just share what it triggers in me. And I talk about myself. I don't judge her. I don't ask her to do anything. I don't know if it's going to work for me or not, but in that moment, it gives me an opportunity to feel and approach with compassion a deep wound that I've experienced as a child. And that's all of a sudden becomes a gift. And that brings me material for journaling, that brings me material to be my therapist, and it creates an incredible connection with my partner. Not from a place of wanting control, manipulation, uh, no, but from a place of wounded child that didn't get his needs met and is getting to approach it. And we'll see how we resolve it. But the point is to welcome what life brings with ease and joy rather than contraction and control. And that's liberating because all of a sudden you flow, you welcome. Oh, cool. All right. He's, and then look at the gift in disguise. And that's it. For me, the shift was there. Say, oh, and that's where practice and habit comes in. I already have the training says, okay, what is the gift in disguise? That's something that I go to. Okay, I can feel it. And now what's the gift in disguise? Says, oh my God, I'm going to have all this space to be with myself. I'm going to have the ability to, do this with my work and maybe et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, schedule all the things. And all of a sudden it becomes a moment of space. And then she will have the space to be expressing her truth and then if she is, then I will know, which is be the ultimate gift, that if she's in Bali with me, it's because she wants it for herself, not because she is pleasing me, which would be also frustrating for me. So you see that all of a sudden, what is a challenging trauma for me is I don't want to be with someone who doesn't live with me. I want to be with a partner who can make her laugh with me. Me, little child, having my little tantrum. Now I can really use that life experience to expand and grow and create really unconditional love. So I'm talking a lot, but friends, almost an hour of a discussion. Let's have a little checkout and then we'll leave. So Gregor, anything you wish to share as we close for the day?
No, just again, I thank you for your time. I could listen to you all day, Alex. And I think the thing that I reflect on why I like your style is you're not pushy. You just tell it as it is. You mentioned to me or to others as well about go and look at other breath works, see what works for you. And it's for me the moment of reflection and calmness after we do each round of breath work in the breathing cold method is so important, and I look forward to that few minutes of calm. And I look at other people who run breath work and some of the Wim Hof and some of the others, but I keep coming back to the breathing cold method because it works for me, and I think getting to know you and your style and the non-pushy nature of the sense you talk, it just suits me as a person. And I thank you for that. And Ben, again, thanks for the opportunity to listen to you firsthand. And given that you're a lot closer than Bali, I might take the opportunity to touch base with some of the courses you run as well. Easier to get down to England than Bali from Scotland.
Hmm. That went straight to my heart. I'm starting crying. I really received that. So it feels really amazing. I really got touched there. Thank you for
Thanks.
appreciating and seeing me. I really received that. Ben.
I just joined on a whim, really, Alex, because I miss you. I miss you as a friend. I miss you as a brother. I miss you as a fellow inspirational light out on the pathway. And I love doing it with people that I respect, that are my brothers. And so I just wanted to come and spend some time with you. And just as Greg said, I feel that you have a lot of wisdom that just flows out of you. So it's always a pleasure. It's always a privilege to be with you in this space. So I can also feel the darkening of the Balinese night drift in, and that is also a gift that you can share with me as well. So thank you for this space. It's been a real pleasure to just reconnect with a friend on a deep level. Um, Thank you.
Thank you. That went straight to my heart too. Oh my God. Yeah, Alex, feeling really blessed. For me, there is nothing more precious than authentic connections and heart connections. That nothing's worth living beyond that. So for me, it's really a blessing to connect with you guys and to listen to you and to so have a space to express myself. So feels really amazing. And yeah, I'm very happy I initiated that and look forward to more. So I'm going to put it out there. And yeah, if you're inspired, tell us how you get inspired by this conversation. I want to hear from everybody. So let's put it out there. Love you, everyone.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Greg. Bye, Alex.